Check 1 2, what's going on, everyone? Steve here at the TheDjLab, doing a little test. And the little test is to see if you were just watching recently. I did a little rant earlier, and I was using the Elgato Cam Link, and I was doing 4K at 30 frames a second, but I was going into like a 1080 or something. I don't know. And it looked good. But now I'm wondering, did I spend too much money on this stupid thing? Because my battery was dying. It wasn't charging. So this camera can go USB-C straight to the computer. It can do 1080 at 60 frames a second. So I don't know if I'm really running at 60 frames here. It doesn't necessarily look like it on YouTube. I'm outputting.
Time offer ends July 7th. Wet and wild. Let's go.
80 at 60 frames a second. So I don't know if I'm really running at 60 frames here. It doesn't necessarily look like it on YouTube. I'm just checking my stuff. Yeah, I don't think I'm running 60 here. On OBS, it looks like I'm running 60. Here, it doesn't necessarily look like I am. It's weird that maybe I am running at 60 frames. Maybe I am. It does maybe look a little bit different, perhaps. Let me know what you think. If you're watching this live and you're in here, let me know. Do you think this looks as good as when I did my last stream when I was running the Elgato capture card? Because that's like $130 that I don't think I need to spend. I have the Elgato sticking out of a USB port with an HDMI cable, and it doesn't seem to make sense to run it that way, to be honest. I think this looks just as good. I think anyone using the Sony A77 IV, you really don't need to start messing around with capture cards. It's a good sensor. It's a full frame sensor. So the 1080 is going to look really good on it. And, top guys I watch, like Cleveland Terry, he's only running 1080. I don't know what capture card he's using. I haven't asked him. But I've tried this way with the USB-C. I've tried with the Elgato capture card. And I'm telling you, the Elgato, here's the big scam of the Elgato. You can't run 4K 60 frames a second on that Elgato. USB 3.0 won't do it. I tried and tried and tried, and I just had to read in a group that it does not work with a shit. So you're going to run 4K at 30. Well, does this thing need to be 4K at 30? When you're all watching 1080 and 1080 looks fine, and I'm even taking this 1080, I'm zooming it in a little bit to get this whole look going with OBS. So it honestly, it looks as good as my last video. I'm telling you. I'm looking at my last video here, and it's no different. When I zoom in, my beard's not looking any sharper. It's well, hold on. Let me see if I can go to my, yeah. So a 1080. You know what I mean? My last stream was at 1080. And it looks good. This one here looks exactly the fucking same. Exactly the same. So yeah, I'm going to take back this Elgato. It's 135 bucks. I'm going to look around. Maybe I'll get myself a nice key light from Best Buy, because right now the window's open. That's good during the day. But maybe I can just get some better lighting situation going on here and see how this pans out, because the Elgato doesn't seem to add any value to this camera whatsoever. So if you're thinking about buying this Sony A7 IV, let me just tell you, it's got USB-C out and it looks fine. Looks as good as it needs to be. It doesn't necessarily, there's no value added. The only thing is with an HDMI cable, I can run a longer HDMI cable, move the camera further if I needed to. But for the time being, this cable is good enough. To run USB-C and to run a good resolution, you do need to use a high-speed USB 3.2 cable. So I might have to invest in another one. But I'm telling you, this looks perfect. How much better can it look than this? How much better does it need to look? Like I said, if you watched my last stream, if you were just on here and you're watching this one, you tell me if you can see any difference, because I'm looking down. Everything looks exactly the same to me. Exactly. And for anyone who tells you you need to buy a new lens, I had a bunch of people saying, oh, you need the Sigma 16mm. This is a full frame camera. It's not an APC camera. So full frame lenses are fucking expensive. This is a 28mm to 70mm kit lens. It's f-stop. The f-stop is 4.5. It's the best it can do. And honestly, for this stuff here, what do I need to change? Tell me that one of the other YouTube guys, their camera looks better. Cleveland Terry uses a 20mm, and he's got lots of cool shit in the background and the way his lights are and stuff. And he's probably using some studio lights and stuff. And his shit looks good, but if you were to pinch it and zoom, it's still just as sharp as mine. It's no better, no worse. It's about the same. And nobody's doing that. You're watching this on your phone. Even if I was to broadcast this in landscape on a TV, it's going to look fucking phenomenal. I got a 65-inch, the frame TV sitting here. And when I had done this before of USB-C, it looked perfect. You don't need an Elgato capture card with this camera. You don't. It doesn't make any sense. Absolutely none. Especially when I have an A10 mini here. You know, like, I don't think there was any value added by buying that card. Luckily, I can return it. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to probably try and head out like very shortly and go return this card, because there's just no need for it. So yeah, that is not needed. Might even focus on this thing. That might be the only benefit to getting a new lens, is maybe having some better focal lengths. I think it's because it's tracking my head right now. Is why I can't do the focus on that. Because it's got face priority. You don't need this. You really just don't. No reason for it. So yeah, if someone in here knows something that I don't know, feel free to tell me. But from what I can see, the Camlink 4K is, well, getting thrown around here. But it's kind of useless with this camera. I was really... The fucking goal has always been to be able to broadcast 4K 60 frames a second. And you can't. You can't do it. So it's got to go back. Well, that's if I can find the inside piece for the box, because it's not there. I want to see if this makes any difference at all. I don't know. It's a pretty bright goddamn light to be in my face, to be honest. Let me close the windows. Okay, curtains closed. And yeah, it's not as bright as having... It's not that bright. Oh, hold on. Almost burnt my eyeballs out there. The brightness is crazy. Like, for this kind of video, that's way too bright, man. That's too much. Um, what's going on here? I just want to see what you're seeing, because I can't see what's going on here. So, what do you mean with the Sony software? I should be able to do what exactly, Sean? What Sony software? Let's see if I'm actually missing a piece or not here. I'm doing an unboxing video. Looking at this unboxing thing. Fuck, man. 4 minutes in, the guy doesn't have the box open. Like, he's not really showing me the inside of the box either. Fuck me. Some of these YouTube guys just can't. Oh, it does have a. Huh. I don't remember seeing that at all when I opened up my thing. I feel like my box is different. What's going on, Scott? So yeah, Scott, I have a cam link. I do have one. But what I'm kind of getting at is I don't think it's necessary. Because, you know, what I've read that you can't do 4K 60 on USB 3.0. It just won't. When I set this camera to try to output 4K on the HDMI, the cam link will not see it. It just doesn't show up. And I'm using a high-end cable. So I don't know. And I know the cable is good because it's a cable from my Xbox Series X. So that's like, it's doing 4K, 120 frames a second. The cable is fine. And you're talking about the Imogen Edge webcam. I didn't even know there was an Imogen Edge webcam. And that's for Windows and Mac? I didn't even know. Well, I gotta find this stupid little insert so I can return this. Because, like I said, for this stream, if you looked at my earlier stream and you look at this one, it doesn't look any different. This USB-C that the Sony A74 does looks as bang on as it needs it to be honest. Found it. Yeah, I'm trying to stream 4K 60 frames is what I'm trying to do. And I guess but so with the Sony Imogen software, are you using USB-C? Is that what you're using? So here's the thing about this Sony imaging software. I don't think I need it. I'll tell you why I don't need it. Because the Sony A7 IV, when you plug it in, it shows up as a webcam, right? No OBS. I don't need any extra software. And the autofocusing works. All the functions of the camera work fine. So are you on PC or Mac for streaming? I've done both. I've got both here. I have an Alienware, which is pretty quick, and then I have that M1 Pro MacBook. And like I said, the real truth is I've tested both so far to the best of my ability, and I think the USB-C straight out of the Sony camera at 1080, 60 frames a second looks fine. So right now, what I'm just using my Sony A7 IV USB-C into the computer. It powers up the camera, keeps it powered, and I've got it in OBS and I'm streaming. I'm doing 1080, 60 frames a second. And yeah, like I think it looks okay. I did a stream earlier with the Elgato, and I'm going back and forth between the one I did earlier and the one now. And I, beyond the fact that I'm doing 60 frames right now, and this is on the Alienware computer, by the way, too. And it's good enough, right? It's not just good enough, it's as good as anyone else is doing it. So right now, like I said, this is all on the PC. So Aaron, you're saying for what I'm doing, um 20, you're saying 24, you will gain light. Well, and I guess that's it. I don't really need to gain any light because the camera is so fucking good in low light anyways. And and I don't think I have any flickering going on with anything because I don't really have any gear going right now. But we'll see. I'm going to pull up the I personally, for me, if I'm doing a talking head video, 60 frames might seem like it's overkill. My ISO right now on this thing is, I'm at 400 on the ISO. And like this is a Sony A7 IV, so the ISO almost doesn't matter. This thing can do a pretty high ISO before you start getting any noise going in things. Yeah, maybe you're seeing. Let me put them on. So the only thing I don't, here's the only thing I don't think I can do on the camera. So from the camera, when I go USB-C out, I only have the option of doing like 30 frames or 60. I don't have the option of going 24. Now, if I do the HDMI out, then obviously I would have the option of doing 24. And you know what? I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think the A7C2 and the A7R4 have this capability of working like a web. I could be wrong. Somehow, like I know this camera, you can stream to YouTube and Facebook and RTMP without anything, just a Wi-Fi connection, and that works a little bit shitty. And Aaron, by all means, I'm glad that you're a videographer because you're not derailing the DJ stuff at all. This whole video right now is me testing out this crazy shit right here. So you probably know way more than I know. I'm new to this game. You know, I know how to take a picture. I know this much about cameras and shit. So I'm more than happy to have someone on here that this is their job and they can teach me some shit because I need to figure out what to do with all this shit because this camera is probably overkill for me. It's definitely overkill for this, but I want to get into photography and videography, and I thought, you know, this is a good step. Just look at some gear for a second here and see about those, the lights and stuff. Because yeah, I'm about to go into Best Buy and return this stupid thing if I don't really need it. But you know, like that last firmware update on the A7 IV gave the ability to do streaming on its own, which wasn't a firmware update for any of the other cameras, which I'm kind of shocked. Like, if I had a more expensive Sony camera and saw the cheaper one got the live stream component and I didn't, I'd be like, well, what the fuck? So I guess, Aaron, that's the question too. As a videographer, and you've been on my channel for a while watching the streams. Um, do you think it was worth all the money that I put into this shit? Like, is things sounding better? Are they looking better? What should I do to improve this whole look? Is there anything I can do? Because when I look at most talking head videos, you know, there's some videos I see and they have this really cool cinematic look about them. And I don't know, obviously, these are videos that are uploaded, they're not live. I imagine there's probably some filters that I could put on this lens to give me that look. There's probably in OBS. I've never got into the whole LUT fucking things of the different LUTs you can put in. There's probably a bunch of little tweaks I could do to just make this look a little bit different. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's fine too. So, are we kind of all on board so far to say there's no need for the cam link? Because I was under the impression, because I call the 4K thing and this camera can do 4K 60, that I was going to be able to like pop that into the computer. So you think, so let's just check this out right now. Let's just see if things look cleaner at 800. Okay, now my shutter speed is 1/200. The ISO's at 800. And I guess I could probably pop my shutter up a little bit. Okay, shutter's at 100. Oh, I think I'm just looking back. And for a moment there, when I dropped my shutter down, I think that was a sweet spot right there. I think that gave the look. Right. So now you're right. Like the shutter's at 125. And I'm at 60 frames right now. So this kind of makes sense. I'm at 60 frames. My shutter's at 125. That's about right. And motion is good. Yeah, and that part I know. That usually if I'm running 30, I run it at like 1/60th. And so now I'm running this 125. Still picking up a little bit on the nanoleaf lights in the background, I guess, if you want to be nitpicking on stuff. And that's an ISO 8 f4.5 on this lens. And the biggest thing I'm trying to figure out, this is the one I'm really trying to wrap my head around. Right now, my kit lens is a 28-70 lens. When I called the camera store and talked to this guy and said, I'm looking for a good lens for this camera. And this guy tells me to go with the goddamn, what was the lens he told me to go with? Oh yeah. He tells me to go with this lens right here. Sigma 24-70. And it's an f2.8 DG DN Model 2, like version 2, the art lens. And this is $1,650 Canadian. And I said to him, I'm like, well, 24 to 70 isn't much better than my, it doesn't feel much different than my 28 to 80. And this guy says to me, hey, you know what? Honda Civic has 4 tires and a Ferrari's got 4 tires, but they're not the same car. So that brings up another question. So I do have an opportunity for like 850. I could probably get it for 800 bucks that I could get a generation 1 of that lens. And I was reading about that, and I heard the optics are a little bit better. The autofocus is a little faster. And so of course I do wonder, like, what should I get? Should I spend 800 bucks on a generation 1 and get it used, or spend double that and get the generation 2 for a fast autofocus? Keep in mind, this camera isn't just for this bullshit here. This camera is for me to go do take pictures, to go do some videography shit perhaps. So I don't know if it's going to be like, if I am going to really see an $800 difference. So Sean, you're saying a 28 to 70 f.28 Sigma contemporary. So, and I don't know the differences, man. My biggest problem is half of these lenses are APC lenses, and Aaron, you're saying even doing this on a generation 1, I'm going to see a difference. But the big question, am I going to see an $800 difference? That's the question. When I go out and take pictures and shit, am I going to see this $800 difference? Because I know with photography, man, things get pretty crazy. Everyone's looking on their phone. I'm not printing this shit. People are watching me on their phone, even on a TV. I'm looking pretty good. What difference am I going to see? And Sean, you're saying, so Sean's saying a Sigma 28 to 70. So what's the difference between those two lenses? And I'm doing OBS, like an OBS, man. I could probably put a bunch of fucking filters in, like sharpen things up. And so Sean, you're saying, so on the ERT lens, it's just a little tiny bit better, right? My So the only concerns, here's, I tell you the things I want in a lens. I'll tell you what ideally I'd like to do. My ideal situation I thought about is I'd like to take this camera, I'd like to get a gimbal for it. I might just buy the Weeble. What's that fucking that Chinese made fucking, it's called a Weeble SC or some shit, or 3E, or it wasn't that expensive and it looks pretty good. I don't need a DJI gimbal, a Ronin or some shit. But get myself a nice little gimbal, get the right lens, and I'd like to just walk around Toronto, you know, explore different things and do some like little walking tour videos and shit like that. That's one of the things I like to do. You know, something that's got a little bit of a zoom would be ideal, but I don't want some big fucking honking lens dragging this shit around for the weight. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. You know, I thought about maybe doing a prime lens, but I feel like I'm trapped with a prime lens and I don't know. Everyone wants bokeh, bokeh, bokeh. I don't know. You see, and Aaron says he's only, and that's what I mean. There gets this weird point where I paid, and I got a deal. I saved $800, and I paid $2,800 for the camera. It's like you buy a Ferrari, and now you're looking for budget tires. You know, I got this high-end camera. I just want to get a lens that matches up nicely with it, that gives it, but I don't need to go fucking kill myself either on the money because I can't really afford it. And Aaron, you're saying the gimbals or the DSLR get heavy after a while. You see, and I have a gimbal on a phone. And right, it can, and you know what? And you're totally right. It can get the job done. But, you know, I'm trying to do things that look really fucking high end. And to do these, like, you know, these focus things and these cinematic fucking looks. This sensor is it's a full frame. The fuck sensor is this? 20, no, it's more than 20. It's oh yeah, it's 34 megapixels. Um it's 80% larger than the average mirrorless camera in its class. 35.8 by 23.8 millimeter sensor. And it's not a stack sensor either, by the way. And, you know, and I see these videos where guys are taking their fucking iPhones and shit and they're comparing it. And, you know, on a phone, you can't tell difference. But I want to shoot good video. Video that would be good enough for someone to actually pay for. And I get it. This camera is the bottom end of the high-end Sonys. But it's probably a better start than a lot of people start with when they get in photography and get their career going. I'm kind of hoping so. So Sean's pretty much saying Sigma 28 to 70 mil. Let's see what this thing's worth. New. Go to Amazon and look at that. A Sigma 28 to 70 mil is what I'm looking at. I keep seeing the art lens. So this guy has a Generation 1 Sigma 28 to 72.8. But he didn't respond back. This guy for $950 has it. It's the art. So he's got the 24 to 70 f.2 art one. Generation 1. And he wants $950. And he can meet me around Bay and Bloor. That means I got to go to Bay and Bloor. That's not so bad. That's pretty easy for him to get to. So what do you guys think? Do you think a 24 to 70 millimeter Generation 1 art lens is worth to do the art part? Because I don't know if I'm going to find a cheaper. I'm just going to take a look here. Because every time you buy something from fucking Marketplace, they'll show you something different. Every time, man. So just listed, someone else has one for $10.50. This guy has one but $9.40. He's in the middle of nowhere. $8.50. But it's not the art one. The guy won 1100. He went down to 950. I don't know if I could get the guy down to 900 because I'm seeing these other lenses going for about 1100 bucks. Henry's has it on sale. New is 1300 bucks plus tax. So fuck. I don't really want to spend $1,000. It's like, well, 950 is $1,000. Is close enough. But it might be the right lens. So refurbished on eBay, 600 USD for the art, which is like, hey Google, what is $600 Canadian to US?
$1 Canadian is approximately 73 United States cents.
Doesn't fuck, man. I fucking hate Google Home. Fuck off, buddy. That's like $818, and then there's probably going to be some shipping, and I got to wait. So it's a little bit better, but nothing amazing. And Scott's pumping in here saying a Tamron is $698 new. And you're telling me they got weather sealing problems. And that's something, my kit lens doesn't have a weather seal. And I've been worried about that shit too. So, how am I going to know about the weather seal? And Scott, if you're saying $698 new, you mean US, which is like $1 million Canadian. And then here's the other thing I thought, Amazon. When you buy a lens off Amazon, it ships and sells by Amazon. You can fucking return it. You got 30 days. So, and then I'm like, what's the fucking hurry? Why don't I email a bunch of these lens companies and see if somebody will hook me up? Because there's other people getting hooked up. Yeah, brand new on Amazon, $1,000 for a Tamron. Look at this. It ships from Amazon. It's sold by Amazon. Free delivery tomorrow. You know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. It's free delivery. Oh, there's used. Let's see the used ones. Used for $775 like new. July 9th to thing. New. Like new. You know what? I'm going to add it to my cart. And gotta see. Scott's saying buy it new. Because, right, that other lens is already old. It's $950. The guy's not dropping in price. And if there's a problem, there's a problem. I'm fucked. If I buy the Tamron lens, $1,000. It's not really what I was thinking about. Like, I have been looking at prime lenses, and everybody's like, prime, go with a prime lens, go with a prime lens. But I want something kind of versatile. And there's something else I need to consider too that you guys might be able to help me out with. Because I paid, when I bought this camera setup, I probably paid, say, an extra, maybe I paid $150 for the kit lens with it. I don't necessarily, like, if I buy this lens, you know what that means? That means I will never use this lens. This lens is dead to me, and I'll have a hard time selling this lens. Right? So that's the other aspect of it. You know, I'm getting a slightly wider shot. Not even. Not even. I'm getting, what am I getting out of this? Because I can go 28 now to, yeah, the lens I'm using is a 28 to 70. This is exactly a 28 to 70. It's the exact same focal lengths. So that's a tough call. Yeah, a camera store is going to take it in trade. But what are they going to give me? Such a fucking tough call, man. You see, I'm not looking at the art one. The art is 20. You're right. The art one is 24. But truth is, I don't necessarily know that I need a wider shot of anything. If anything, I want a little bit more zoom. Like if I was out doing some shit, I always wish I had a bit more zoom. Even my Canon with a 200 millimeter lens on it, like I was looking at a fucking 200 to 600 millimeter for almost like $2,500 or some shit. And I almost jumped on it because it was like, you know, Amazon, could always return it. And then I was reading about it and people like, this is a 4-pound lens. You got to be a good photographer, man. Like, this isn't a fuck around lens. This isn't going to do what you think it's going to do. And then you got to get yourself a fucking really hardcore tripod. And there's a lot of involvement into that shit. The problem is if I trade this lens in, that means I have to go buy the next one out of camera store and there's going to be no return. If I order it off Amazon, I can try it, compare it, and it's either going to blow it out of the fucking water or we're going to look at it and say, you know what? What's the fucking difference? You know, is there going to be, like, seriously, $1,000 for this? I'm better off to spend $1,000 and go to the fucking spa and get skin rejuvenation and fucking fillers. And if I want to look better, you know what I mean? Go buy a better shirt, fucking spending $1,000 on a lens for this doesn't make any sense. I have to think smart and be like, what am I going to do? How can that lens make me money? How is this camera going to make me money? If I go out there and take this lens and do pictures, and if I learn some Photoshop skills and get some right filters and shit, to anyone who's hiring me, it's going to still look better than their fucking phone. And that's all that really matters at the end of the day. Will the picture that they get look better, or the video look better than what they can do? Only a high-end photographer is going to know, be like, oh, I see a little bit of, you're looking at a test picture. Oh, it's a little not as sharp on the corners. This, that. Fucking who's going to know this shit? And you're right, Sean. 24% is wider. And like I said, I don't know for my purposes, do I need wide shots? And quite honestly, like, here's the other thing. I can rent lenses at like top end $60 for a weekend. So do you need to buy lenses? You get the jobs, you go rent the lenses you need. It's like DJ stuff, right? You don't buy speakers. That's stupid because you never know. You got to store them. You got to fucking deal with them shit. You have your DJ gear. You rent the speakers you need for the event that you're doing. And for cameras, why spend $50,000 on fucking lenses when you can just go rent what you need for the day that you need it? Now, the only problem with that is you're not experienced with that lens. So there's that part of it. You almost need to go rent the lens on a day that you're not working to fuck around, learn the lens a little bit, I guess, and then go rent it when you need it. Thanks, Aaron, for your input on stuff. Yeah, and this is true. Right now, even this kit lens in low light is going to blow the fucking doors off anything that the phone can pull off. Let me tell you, I couldn't believe when I bought the little Sony here, right? I couldn't believe when I took this outside and I did a video with my phone, and I think my phone does great fucking video. It's an, S24 Ultra. And then I did a video with this little piece of shit. And this just fucking smoked it, man. This fucking smoked it at night. Now, Sony cameras all suffer from roll and shutter. But what's sad, this camera here can go f2.0. The lens I have on this thing is doing like f4.5. It can do 3.5 at the I don't really know how to change my goddamn f-stop on this thing. But this camera here, this has a 20 mil. I think this is. I think this was 18 millimeter or some shit. Like this camera for a webcam was too much for me. Like for walking around and doing videos, If I put this on a gimbal, this would probably be fine because it's got such a wide view, right? So I don't even know if I should even keep this camera or sell this thing. It might actually be useful for something. Holy fuck, it's been a minute there, Chuck. Haven't seen you in 100 years. Chuck, you've been around for a long time here. How's the new A7 IV look? Because I know Chuck was always telling me to buy a fucking video camera, buy a camcorder, but I ended up buying this because I always wanted a nice camera. I thought about this for a while. I want to get into photography. I might take some photography classes even. And, you know, try my hand at something different and see what happens. You know, and that's funny. When I bought this camera, I considered spending the extra and getting the E10, right? So I could change the lenses up on it. But then I thought, oh, this one here I can put in my pocket. That was kind of what I thought. And you know what? It's strange. In a lot of situations, this camera was not quite as good as my phone for taking a picture. In some aspects, my phone looked better. So pocket camera versus a decent camera, a camera phone, it's a tough call. That's some good advice, Chuck. That, yeah, don't waste the fucking money on a lens. Spend it on a class. And really, like, there's so much free fucking learning online. What's there to spend it on, right? The only advantage of a photography class, as far as I'm concerned, is you meet other photographers who have lenses that you can borrow. What's going on, Sodi? Don't know how you found this thing? Just random shit, man. Um, Glad that you were a big fan of the last DJ rant vid. This whole video, I wasn't meaning to even be here this long. This turned into something different. This was basically me trying to decide if running USB-C out of a Sony A7 IV as a webcam, what looked just as good as using HDMI on the Elgato 4K. And I gotta say, I think this looks fine. I'm gonna go back to Best Buy. I'm gonna get my 135 bucks back. And I'm either gonna pocket that money or maybe I know Elgato makes some cool key lights and shit. Maybe I'll see what kind of lighting that they have, and maybe I'll buy some kind of a light because that'll make the difference too. Are those swastikas? No, they're not swastikas, Chuck. That's funny, but they're not. That's the nanoleaf canvas. The truth is, my computer, I don't think the Elgato versus this is having any effect on the computer whatsoever on the load. It's probably the same. I don't think there's a difference. I tell you, here's the big difference. The difference with this, I have to I either got to get a dummy battery, which I should, running the USB-C into the battery, charging it while I'm running this is probably not the best idea. So a dummy battery is probably something I should pick up. Maybe I'll even do that today if they have one. But yeah, like this Looks fine. Yeah, looks just as good. So guys, thanks for stopping by, checking things out, giving me your opinions, giving me your expertise and stuff. I think I'm gonna jet. I'm gonna hop on my scooter before the rain comes, get my ship there, get my money back, maybe buy something new. I will probably come on a little bit later to let you know what I bought. So yeah, peace out. Talk to you all later. Have a good day.